Dr. Russell, thank you for coming in, and congratulations.
Thanks for having me, Andy. Thanks, James.
Your whole life has been viruses from about the time you went to college, hasn't it?
Yeah, I fell in love with viruses very early on in my career.
I think it sounds like a strange thing to say, but that's how you get to the point you are, where you are so focused.
Yeah.
And you were in the news internationally a few years back by employing the measles virus to attack a woman's cancer with miraculous results.
Yeah.
And now we move forward to a company that's refining this process and hopefully bringing it to a lot of folks who are fighting cancer. Is that an accurate description of what's happening?
So that lady, Stacey Erholtz, was she made history. You know, she got a massive dose of measles virus intravenously to treat her cancer, which was disseminated different places in her body. She had 5 solid tumors. She had diffuse cancer in her bone marrow. She'd failed all therapy. She'd had 2 bone marrow transplants, and she was out of options. She had a single infusion of a massive dose of measles virus, and her cancer melted away. And she, to this day, 6 years out, is cancer-free. And, she's a wonderful, shining example of what we're chasing. We have, since that time, tried to replicate, and we've had a hard time. We can get the viruses to work against cancer, but to get that dramatic single-shot cure, which we dream of, is proving pretty difficult.
Okay.
But we think we're getting closer.
So you have a virus, the Voyager V1 it's called.
Yeah.
And you're ready to move forward to clinical stage or phase 2, which is the efficacy part of studies, correct?
Yeah, we've done fairly extensive phase 1 studies. We know this virus is safe. We know that it has anti-cancer activity. And we know that the best way to take it forward and really make it useful to patients with cancer is to combine it with other immune therapy. As you explained earlier, the cancer does this sort of 2-step attack on the tumor. First, it gets in, it spreads in the cancer and kills the cancer cells directly. And then second, it brings the immune system in to mop things up. And there are other immune therapies that can be then combined in to really boost the efficacy. And that's what we're doing with Regeneron.
Okay. And this is the scope of what you're doing is increasing massively as well because of the Regeneron's participation.
Yeah. So what we need to do in order to make this therapy available to cancer patients worldwide, we first got to prove that it's effective, which means we've got to go through this fairly long clinical trial process. And there's a limited number of patients who are available to be treated or want to be treated at Mayo Clinic. So it has to go multi-center. And the only way we can do that and really hit the gas and treat many, many patients is to have a company and then to partner with a larger company in order that we can enroll multiple clinical trial sites and drive this process very rapidly.
Is there any idea how many people will be enrolled in the phase 2s?
We're looking at about 120, 130 patients for the phase 2 study that's currently planned with Regeneron, combining their immunotherapy with our virus.
Is this a multi-year process to get through phase 2?
The clinical trial, we think, will take 2 to 3 years to complete. And beyond that, the plan is that Regeneron will fully acquire the virus and will then take it through the next stage of clinical development, the end result of which will be an FDA approval.
And
on the market.
So
yeah,
physicians treating cancer patients worldwide could go, here's a tool on our shelf.
Absolutely, that's the goal.
Exciting.
But the other component of this collaboration is equally, if not more exciting, that the virus that we're using, the Voyager V1 virus, is different from measles. And, we had to sidestep measles a little because everybody has pre-existing immunity, and that makes it difficult to use that as a therapy. The virus that Voyager V1 is derived from is vesicular stomatitis virus. It naturally infects cattle, actually, in Central and South America. And so that's been engineered to turn it into an anti-cancer weapon. and that's the one we're driving forward here. So, we sort of had to step away from the measles and move with this virus.
Well, it's another virus. So is the dream that I get a shot? Is that what it is? And then I get this infection from this non-harmful virus to my tissue and just goes after the tissue I wish to no longer have in my body.
We put the virus in the bloodstream. You have an infusion of virus into the bloodstream. You're going to feel fine for 2 hours, and then you're going to start shaking, and your temperature will go up, and you're going to probably feel pretty sick. But by the next day, that will have settled down. And that's it. It's a single shot of the virus, and then we chase it with this therapy that Regeneron have, the checkpoint inhibitor antibody, and you have that every 3 weeks thereafter until, if the cancer comes back, you stop.
Okay.
But you carry on with that for a long time.
All right.
And can this be tailored toward people's specific cancers, or is it just kills cancer tumors?
This is pretty general, but the exciting preclinical thing that we're doing with Regeneron is to build the next generation of viruses, so they're fully retargeted. So these viruses that we're making with Regeneron that will be the next generation after Voyager V1, they display antibodies on their surface. They target precisely the cell you want them to target, and there'll be a different virus for each cancer tailored for that cancer. So that's what we're so excited about, and that's over the next 5 years. We're building that next generation of viruses. And, for Rochester, this is huge. I just want to say this. I mean, there's the DMC project and everything. The whole goal of that is to build a biotech industry in Rochester. Hard to do. The people who invest in biotech companies are not yet fully convinced that Rochester is a place where you can do that. I got told early on, move the company to Boston, move it to San Francisco, and then we'd be much more interested in financing this. But we've managed to build it here in Rochester, and now we've done this huge partnership with Regeneron, and it says a lot about Rochester being a place that you can actually build a biotech industry.
So earlier this year, you made a move. You're now at, I call it the IBM plant, but there's a different name for it now.
The blue buildings, the white buildings, the
castle. Because that only is a portion of it, but that is a big expansion for you there.
We still call it the IBM campus. Yeah, we moved into building 110. It's a 40,000 square foot building built for chip manufacture. And what we did was to lease that building. It's a 7-year lease extendable by 5 years. We've reconfigured 25,000 square feet of it. We have offices, labs, manufacturing space. And we, obviously, with this deal done, we're now hiring fairly aggressively, and we'll build our FTE count at that building quite substantially over the next year.
What kind of folks are you trying to bring in?
We're looking predominantly for scientists and for manufacturing folks, because we're ramping up our manufacturing process.
Often you hear people say, why can't they cure cancer? And then you hear the response, well, because there's so many different kinds. We need to work individually on each one. This is what's so amazing to me, to think that we could be seeing the birth of curing cancer. And that is mind-blowing to me.
Mankind's dream for a long time. I know that.
Well, it's exciting to be part of that effort. And I do think, there's been a lot of progress, and progress, though, is incremental. Some people have a surgeon take their tumor out and they're cured.
Yeah.
If they get it early enough, radiotherapy sometimes cures. And each new therapy that comes along, we get very hopeful about it, but it usually ends up finding its place that it only cures a limited number of the people, and there are still those who need new approaches.
I assume that's because everybody's body is different, the chemistry inside the body and all that.
And every cancer is different, and they can evolve fast. They're dividing fast, they're mutating, and they change, and they get around the drugs that you throw at them.
So as far as Rochester is concerned and the future of the company in Rochester, you mentioned eventually the Voyager V1 will become the property of Regeneron as it moves forward. Do you foresee still having significant operations in Rochester as you move forward?
Well, that's one of the great things about this deal with Regeneron, is it gives us the ability, gives us sufficient resources to build our pipeline. And we have quite a few other viruses at Mayo Clinic in development that we would love to do the same thing that we've done with Voyager V1, bring them into the company, run them through early stage clinical testing, set up the manufacture, and then do similar deals around those viruses. So we're really excited about the whole waterfront that we're looking at now.
Well, that could serve as a great template for other biotechs that would start up here in Rochester.
Absolutely.
Same sort of operation.
I think there are so many biotech companies now bubbling up through Mayo Clinic. Ever since Mayo changed the game and started this employee entrepreneurship program, you know, it's unleashed a huge number of potential technologies that can become companies. So I think, the future is very exciting
There's
for Rochester.
a lot of brain power stuffed into a small geographic area, that's for sure.
If you ever need someone to do voice work for your industrial video, Voyager. It's the cusp of whatever.
Well, I'm certainly
Okay,
looking.
you're hired.
Thank you.
I'm certainly looking forward to watching this take place in the process as it moves forward, and crossing my fingers that the efficacy reports come back as promising as you hope they do.
Yeah. And this, we can't declare victory at this point. I think that's really important, But what this does is it gives us the opportunity to do everything that we want to do over the next 2 years to take this technology to the next stage. And obviously the goal, I would love to be coming back here saying, we've done it. We've cured cancer.
Well, let's schedule an appearance.
Okay.
That's right. You'll have to work to that point exactly.
Well, Dr. Stephen Russell from Vyriad in the studio this morning, and a company to watch, and a battle worth fighting, that's for sure. We all know folks who are fighting cancer and dealing with that, and every piece of hope is worth gold, I guess, for folks who are dealing with this. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much.